Welcome back. You're watching To The Point. The Delhi government's decision to ban odd and even number cars for 15 days in January has not only created controversy, but also a deep divide between those who support the idea and others who believe it's unwarranted and will create confusion and suffering. Joining me now are representatives of both viewpoints. From the Aam Aadmi Party, Ashish Khaitan, and from the BJP, its national spokesperson, Sambit Patra. Ashish Khaitan, your government's decision to take 50% of the cars off the road each day at a time when the metro is running at full capacity at peak time and will only get new coaches in September, and at a time when Delhi Transport Corporation buses have fallen by 25% in the last 5 years and DTC won't get new buses till March. And on top of that, when last mile connectivity in Delhi is anyway extremely poor, is simply going to create problems for office goers and Delhi residents without any guaranteed impact on pollution. Isn't this a knee-jerk decision?
Okay, so let me give you a factual reply and a very pointed reply. To say that DMRC, which is Delhi Metro, is running at its full capacity and cannot expand its capacity until January or February next year is not factually true, because we are holding meetings, and high-level meetings were held with DMRC yesterday, and DMRC is working out a plan by which they can increase their capacity at least by 20 to 30% during those 15 days when we have this even out formula. Number two, today we had a meeting with the owners of chartered buses, and they are roughly 5,000 in number, and they are going to, in all probability, pitch in during these 15 days. These are short-term interim arrangements. Karan, what we have done by putting this odd-even formula out in public domain is that we have put the onus squarely on urban public transport. We are now going to work with strict timelines, and all departments in Delhi government and center and state and other stakeholders are going to work with a renewed sense of purpose to regenerate, to improve, to augment the public transport in Delhi. You are right, public transport in Delhi is inadequate. This inadequacy and gap in public transport has only widened over the last few years. We need to bridge it. If we aspire to be a global city, if we aspire to be a livable city,
let me bring in Sambit
then we need to have
on the other hand, Sambit Patra. Let me bring in Sambit Patra. On the other hand, Sambit Patra, what you cannot deny is that there are places in Delhi where at times the pollution level is 40 times above the safe limit. So clearly we're living in desperate times, and that calls for desperate measures. How can you deny the fact that as a 15-day experiment to see if it works, this is a sensible idea?
No, Karan, in fact, we are not denying. In fact, you are right in pointing out that desperate measures have to be taken, and that's the reason as to why I see this debate as an academic debate. And I think pollution should be the last agenda to be politicized. We should not politicize pollution. We should have a consensus on this issue, but there are certain questions which should be academically discussed. Number one, I firmly believe personally that certain declarations should come only after preparation. Right now, my friend Mr. Ashish Khaitan, when in fact asked questions by you, was saying that we will have meeting, we are having meeting, maybe by March, maybe by September things would be fine. Some temporary measures are being taken. I believe when we are going to take drastic steps, it should be complete preparation. We go before we come out with any kind of declaration, because after all a sizable population of the city is going to be affected, and as many other cities in the world like Paris and take the example of Beijing, when they were subjected to such kind of road rationing, the number one thing that they did was they put the city to test drives whether it was feasible or not. And let me remind you, in Beijing and in Paris, prior to the test drive was started, in fact the public transport system was made free of cost to the common man. I mean, I think if not free of cost, will the Aam Aadmi Party government subsidize the public transport system so that we have some kind of facilitation for the people? One question. Number two, today we had fantastic articles in almost all the national dailies. If you would go into Times of India, you would see that they have got a fantastic item saying that autocracy. Will there be autocracy? The auto drivers who generally cozy up with the Aam Aadmi Party. Will this partnership?
Let's stick to facts rather than speculation. On facts, Ashish Khaitan, you have another problem. Because if you look at the exemptions that your own transport minister says you're considering, not only are you undermining your intention to tackle pollution, you're probably making a mockery of it. For instance, two-wheelers, which account for 34% of vehicle pollution, could be exempted, but not cars, and cars only account for 10% of vehicle pollution. Secondly, cars driven by women will be exempted, right? As if to suggest that when a woman is behind the steering wheel, it doesn't pollute as much. Now, those exemptions, whatever the logic behind them, undermine your intention, if not make a mockery of it.
Yes. So first of all, when the BJP spokesperson said that, look, we are not ready and certain things will be in place only by July next year or September next year. Well, urban public transport in Delhi will need continual augmentation and continuous improvement. As I said right at the start, that we are making
the experiment begins rather than in advance. If you had done it in advance, people would have accepted the experiment as necessary. But now when you do it afterwards, they think the experiment is risky.
Karan, can I say something?
But come to my point about the exemptions. Because the exemptions are bizarre.
Yeah, I'm responding to your point. I'm responding to your point. To say that we are taking measures only now in winter, when the pollution levels have become severe, is not correct, because there were legacy issues. There has not been a single bus procurement since 2008 in Delhi.
Come to my point of exemptions.
Those legacy issues have been sorted out. Now you will see new buses being added to the public bus fleet. Now I'm not avoiding anything. I'm just replying to all the questions that you are raising. Now to your question, that whether two-wheelers will be exempted or not exempted is something that is being examined.
Why is it even being examined? Why is it even being examined? Two-wheelers create some of the worst pollution. Because
you're right.
Yeah, but
two-wheelers
what's the answer? What's the answer?
Yes. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah. If you allow me, if you permit me, there is one perspective that says that yes, two-wheelers are more polluting than cars. There is another perspective that says that look, two-wheelers also add to the utilization of the road space, because two-wheelers, they snake their way, they don't add to the idle time that cars have to spend on the roads.
But
they don't cause as much idle pollution as the cars do.
The object is to control pollution, and if you concede that two-wheelers are more polluting, then the other concern should not be relevant. In fact, it seems to me from your answer that even your intention is not clear. You're not sure why you're doing this. Are you doing it because you've got traffic problems and you want to sort out traffic jams on the road, or are you doing it because of pollution? Because if pollution is your concern, you've just given the game away when you said two-wheelers create more pollution.
So let me just inform you that even if you speak to leading environmentalists, there are two varying viewpoints about two-wheelers. That one, why two-wheelers should be allowed, and one we say that two-wheelers should also be included in this even odd car scheme.
But by the way, on the pollution index, petrol cars cause the least pollution.
Karan, if you don't allow me to complete my answers, then it becomes a monologue. Let me just reply. As far as the intent part goes, let me tell you, and let me state this outright, and I wish as an anchor you have stated this, that we are the first elected government in this country which has taken in principle stand that now in big cities, the number of cars on the road need to be regulated. The number of new cars, the number of existing cars need to be regulated. And the only way we can do it is by improving urban public bus transportation system. And let me complete. If we speak over each other, then viewers won't be able to understand what we are saying. We have put the focus on ourselves. We have put the pressure on our entire government, the entire machinery, that look, now here is a timeline. This is an interim measure. In the interim arrangement also we have to perform, and in short term, in medium term and long term also we have to perform.
Okay.
It cannot be that in 7 years, since 2008, not a single bus has been added. to the public bus fleet in Delhi. It's shameful. And we have put
I'm going to
the
stop you there,
onus
Ashish
on the
Khaitan,
entire
because
government
the
machinery
solution to the
now
fact that
undo
buses
this
haven't been
legacy
added for
issue
8
and
years
sort out
is not to create
the mess
another
that we
different
have created in
problem
Delhi.
by taking cars off the road in the claim that this is good for pollution, when perhaps pollution will not be affected at all by it. So your answer doesn't actually tackle the problem. But Sambit Patra, let me put something else. The real point being made by Ashish Khaitan is that this is a sincere government trying very hard to tackle a serious problem, and he's asking us to accept the government's sincerity. And that, in a sense, is proven when you look at all the other measures they want to put in place. They want to shut down Badarpur and Rajghat power plants. They're trying to get the Dadri plant in UP shut down. They're advancing Euro 6 from 2017 to 2019. They're even going to start from March vacuum cleaning of roads to suck up dust. They even have plans to increase greenery. Taken together, surely this shows, A, that there is some element of comprehensive thinking, and B, that their sincerity is to be taken as granted, even if sometimes their logic may be mistaken.
No, Karan, we are not questioning that. In fact, as I said right from the very beginning, that pollution is our problem. It's not their or my problem, and together we have to deal with it. And that's why at the outset itself I'm saying that I'm suggesting certain questions. I'm putting certain questions in a form of suggestion so that we can come out with a proper charted form of the whole issue. Number one, in a good government's main point is clarity. Whatever issue they come up with, whatever step they are going to take, they should have absolute clarity in the issue. But right now we are seeing that there is some sort of confusion in this odd number, even number formula. If you would even chart out the whole issue, you would see that nothing has been solved as of now. Number one, let me give you an example. As far as the penalization is concerned, if you want to penalize the car, the odd number coming out on an even number day, under what provision would you penalize? Because there is no such provision under the Motor Vehicles Act. So even that has to be thought, and this cannot be done overnight, because amendment will take some amount of time, and this has a legality attached to it. Secondly, well, yes, the intention may be right, and I probably see a right intention in this, but the big question is, even for should someone called as a citizen of this country suffer for a single minute? The answer would be no. Let's take the last mile connectivity. If a single woman suffers or a single day, a single woman in Delhi, then I believe even if the intention was right, the experimentation of the Aam Aadmi Party government would be a failure.
Ashish Khaitan, I want to end with this question. You know, many people feel you need credit as a government for responding to a very major problem, and your sincerity is to be taken for granted. The problem is you've come up with a solution without A, doing any preparation for it, B, without thinking through its consequences, C, with many exemptions that you plan that will actually undermine the solution. And therefore all of this taken together suggests you're very sincere. No one questions that. But the rationality and the logic behind what you're doing is highly questionable. So this is a sincere government taking a wrong decision in an ill thought out way, and that worries people.
Karan, how I wish that there were easy answers to the severe levels of pollution in Delhi. What we have in Delhi today is a public emergency situation. I think the BJP spokesperson was speaking on behalf of the people of Delhi that look, how can you inconvenience people? I think the BJP spokesperson needs to be reminded that the Environment Minister, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, stood up in the parliament and said that 80 people are dying of pollution in Delhi on a daily basis. There is a report that was commissioned by the central government which says that 44% of the children growing up in Delhi, by the time they reach the age of 17, suffer irreversible lung damage. So what are we talking of? We are faced with a problem of humongous proportion. There are no easy answers. I wish I could have given you a 2 + 2 = 4 kind of logic, but unfortunately right now there is no such logic. We are trying to find answers. We are trying to take some measures.
Give me a chance to bring Sambit in, because you made a very convincing point. You know, he's absolutely honest, Sambit Patra, when Ashish Khaitan says there are no easy answers. But the problem is humongous, and the deaths that it's causing are unacceptable. And therefore action has to be taken. And even if this action has consequences that will affect the comfort of people, at least it ensures that the death threat pollution hangs over them, gets taken care of, even if partly. How do you respond to that? Just that. And give me a minute answer, because we're running out of time.
Rightly said, drastic measures have to be taken, and that's the reason as to why I said that we are not against this measure. But even if we take a drastic measure for a big disease, we still have to discuss in a democratic country, and that's what we are doing. We are having a healthy discussion over here. But remember, it's not just the comfort of the people, it is the safety of the people as well. This formula also, in fact, would impact the safety norms of the people. So this needs a thorough discussion, a thorough preparation, and clarity. Confusion will only add to the problem and will not finish off the problem, remember.
Very quickly, Ashish Khetan, if at the end of 15 days you discover, this hasn't worked, will your government accept and admit it?
Oh, why not? Yes, I think the Chief Minister himself said that let's try it out for 15 days. Let's see what are the learnings, and then we'll reassess and we'll recalibrate our strategy.
All right. So you clearly have an open mind. You're undertaking an experiment with the right intention. Some people criticize it because the logic may be wrong, but the important thing is you're prepared to accept, if you get it wrong, that it was a mistake. My thanks to both of you for joining us and at least partly clarifying a situation that is clearly of concern to many who live and many more who come to work in Delhi. And there we end this particular episode. If you have been, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.